want to go over the Excel assignment really quickly, just to make sure everyone understands what's going on, and also to make a quick comment. I'm getting, you'd be surprised how many emails I'm getting and comments during office hours saying, hey, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who doesn't get this. And almost all of you are in that position at some point. So don't panic. When you see someone in class who is getting it and is going back and forth with me, that's great, but those are the people who are sort of ahead of the pack. Don't think that they are representative of the class as a whole. Most of the class, you guys are seeing stuff for the first time, you're learning it for the first time, so don't sweat it if you feel like you're behind because the people who are ahead, right? You're seeing the people at the front. That's just them. So by all means, ask me to stop and clarify, ask me questions. Sometimes it just takes some time for stuff to sink in, and that's fine too, but come back during office hours. Back and forth is what makes this work. It's really hard to see that when we are not physically in the same place. In a regular classroom, you can look left and right and see other people's confused faces, which you can't see online. So long story short, keep at it. You're not alone. Back to the Excel assignment. So here is essentially what I want. For these first 3 questions, I want you to be setting up functions. So this is not the correct function for question 0, but it works the right way, which is it takes advantage of the values in these light blue cells and it updates according to the value of those, right? So if we change whatever to whatever, we get different values, and that's what I want. I want something that's going to update its value so that it corresponds with this truth table that I put in there for reference purposes. This check cell, this should also be updating based on what you're putting in here. What you're putting in here, and it's comparing with the answers here. So if you're seeing false or 0 in this cell, given what you're doing, you need to change what you're doing, is the short version. That's why that's there. That's to give you some indication that you're not quite there. You might sometimes have it where it is, let's try this, throw that in. So this is not correct, but the check cell says it's true, so it's not foolproof, but it's just kind of a little indication. Once you have this function set correctly, then no matter what you put into these 2 light blue cells, this dark blue cell should stay set to true or 1, or however your computer is interpreting it. So again, you're trying to put in a function that will give the correct truth value in response to these light blue cells, but they should be able to change. Same thing for here, except now instead of setting up the conditional if-then, you're setting up the biconditional, or if and only if. So you might want to do like we did with this green cell and set up the conditional here, the conditional if Q then P here, and then you could do the biconditional in the orange cell. And again, this dark blue cell will give you a check. For over here, I really should have made these all light blue cells. We should be able to change these and get the correct updates here. Right, so for example, this is not a difficult one, so I'm not really giving it away. P and Q is just and. It references the P cell and the Q cell for this row. So you want to be building out each of these across these 5 columns, but then once you've got it, you should be able to copy it down. Right, so you're answering 5 questions. You're not answering 5 times 16 questions. Right, so get these 5 cells right and then copy down. But again, right, so here we don't have P and Q, but if we change this, this automatically updates to the correct value. Right, what I don't want is to see true, 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 false for all the other ones. This is just manually set, right? So this is the correct answer, but it's not correctly done because if I change this, it says false, but it should say true, right? So I want to be able to rely on the spreadsheet automatically updating the values. That is the key for these first 3 questions. For the 4th question, you're probably just going to give me a verbal description. That's going to be the simplest way to do this, but you might want to create some scratch paper, set up a condition. So an early submission I got, and thank you to that student who submitted early. That student submitted manual answers for all this. They gave me the correct truth table, but they did not give me the functions that would automatically generate that truth table. And if I remember correctly, they might have done the same thing up here, right? So I want functions, not the truth. I want something that's going to give the correct truth even when these values change. But down here, a verbal description is going to be straightforward. It's not necessarily an easy thing to convert it all into one truth table that's going to make sense of things. But you could break down parts of it and think through parts of your question for over here and say, all right, so if I think what's my first move, maybe I take the cabbages across. Well, we can check the condition of the items you leave behind with a simple truth table, right? So we've got, say, our first bank of the river. There's going to be ewe, cabbage, goat, and wolf. There's going to be the boat, and then there's going to be the second bank. I might be using too many cells here. So here is one way we could make a pretty exhaustive truth table for this. So at any given point, we got, 12 cells to deal with. But so you start at all 4 items you included are on the first bank, and we've got 0 for all the others. That's kind of a little bit much, so let's just imagine you think through any given point in time, right? So for the boat, really what you're going to have is a check that there's you and there's one other item, right? So that is going to basically mean you and cabbage, or you and goat, or you and wolf, or you and none of the above, right? So those are conditions you might check. Let me give you a concrete example here. So you might think, all right, I'm going to take the cabbage across. Let's make sure what I leave behind is okay. If you take the cabbage across, you're going to no longer be there. The cabbage is going to no longer be there. And then you might check this condition. You cannot leave the wolf alone with the goat, right? So that would be, we do not want both the wolf and the goat at the same time to be on this bank if you are not there, right? So here, let's move this down. Let's try it again. So we can't have goat and wolf. So in this case, since I'm not here and I've left the goat and the wolf behind, is this going to be part of the solution? The answer is false. Now, I could make this a little bit more elaborate. This is just me using it as scratch paper, right? So this is not going to be true. Whoops. If I'm there, right? If I'm there, this should update to true, but we're just using it as scratch paper. But that is enough to say, for example, that the answer we put in here should not be first you take the cabbage across the river, right? Because logically we're violating one of these rules, and we can use our truth table structure to evaluate that possibility. But like I said, you're going to give me a verbal description, right? It's going to be along the lines of first you take the cabbage across, and then you do this, and then you do that. Except, of course, that you're not going to take the cabbage across first. All these other ones, what I want is for you to set up a function that's going to automatically find the right thing. All right, and again, as always, feel free to ask questions on the Discord or the class blog, and good luck.